Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Traps Tuesday Toots. Today we're going to go over a wood farm. Now there's a few different versions of wood farms out there. They all have their own advantages, their disadvantages, and I like to think this is one of the better ones if you're not doing TNT mining of trees. Now if you are going to go ahead and do a massive tree farm that has TNT that explodes it so that it blows up that way, there's some more efficient ways of doing it that way. However, on my server we don't allow TNT duping, which means that on our server you can't do that. So we have this as a way to manually collect that wood. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go over this farm and show you guys how to make this thing work. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's get started. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place a couple blocks up. Now, of course, if you want to go ahead and build it so that that's ground level, you're going to need to dig this down into the ground, and we'll go over exactly what that is like. But dig down a couple blocks and we're good, and we're going to go ahead and place a block redstone torch rather on top of that block. We're going to go ahead and place a block there and a block there, and then we're going to have a sticky piston facing in this direction. Now on top of that sticky piston is our dirt. Now this dirt is actually going to be our block that is going to be where we plant our trees. So this is our ground level. So if we want to actually build it into the ground, this is what needs to be at ground level. Everything below this, and including this, needs to be at actually ground level. So you'd have to, that would be your dirt, obviously, if you want the trees to be right here. So you're going to need to go ahead and do that. But from here, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a direction. Now this is the direction you're going to enter the farm from and where you're going to activate it from. You're going to come out 2 blocks, and then you're going to go down 1 block, and then down an extra block. From here, we're going to go ahead and stick a little guy right like that, and then we're going to come out like that. And so this is 5 long and 3 long and then 1 long right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick, oh, forgot a quick step. We do need to replace this block right here with a slab block, and that is because we don't want it to actually power this or else it won't work. So it has to be a slab. If it was a full block, it would power that piston and then break the farm and make it not work. So that is that. And then this lever right here is actually going to do 2 things. It's going to power this, and that's going to detect when this tree actually grows. And then it's also going to power a clock down here. And how we're going to build that clock is we're going to place a redstone right there, a repeater right there, and then do that. We're going to put it in subtract mode. And that's when this extra red is lit in the front. And what that does is it takes the signal out, sends it this way, and then it compares it to that. So then it slowly dwindles down, because what it does is it will subtract any signal that it gets in the side, that signal strength, from the signal strength that it has. And so then it will do that, and it will cycle this. And how it does that is it actually currently, this is a level 16, 15, and 14. So then it subtracts 14, that drops it down to 2. 2 doesn't even get to there, and it turns it off, and then it keeps going in that cycle of craziness. Then we need to put a redstone here. This is actually to bud power that. Now that means that this is only for Java. So if you're running on Bedrock, this actually won't work for you, and I do apologize for that. But then we're going to come on out like that, and that is great. Now we can go ahead and turn this off so it's not running for no reason. All right, now we want to come to this back side, and we're going to go ahead and build up a block, and then build up a block, just like so, and that is going to run a redstone signal into here. And then what we're going to want to do is pick any log, and then I would go ahead and use that same log for everything that you build in this farm. But what we want to do is pick a log, and we're going to go dark oak, and we're going to go ahead and place that log right out there. We're going to place that log there, and what that's going to do is that's going to get powered by this. And it does need to be a log, because the more logs you have and the less non-logs you have in the area, the better off it's going to be as far as rates. it takes longer to grow a tree next to non-log items. And so if we want to speed this up, we need that to be a log. We would like everything to be a log. Unfortunately, you can't dispense bone meal from a log, which is going to be our next thing. This is going to be a dispenser, and this is actually how this gets powered. It's getting power from here, and that is taking care of business. Now, another option, if you actually want to go for it, is you can actually just come on over here like so and get rid of that log entirely, which might actually be a little bit more efficient, but it does take a couple more pieces of redstone. So that's kind of an up to you kind of thing. So now we want to go ahead and add a repeater right here. And this system right here is already functional. If we go ahead and we take bone meal, place a tree down, you can see it goes, and then it activates that. Now this is where we're going to get our signal off to then run some pistons and do some crazy things. But that, as you can see, that worked. The bone meal ran, and then it did that, just like it needed to do. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and work on our tree pusher mechanism, and we're also going to set up for our tree, or rather our leaf crusher mechanism, to also go in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and build out 2 blocks there and put one on top. This guy can go away, it's not necessary, and then build out 2 blocks there like so. We need a piece of redstone on top of this. We then need to go ahead and put a repeater on 4 ticks in that direction and a repeater on 2 ticks in that direction. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and stick a sticky piston right here, and that, as you can see, is in line with that, just above that dirt block where that first log is going to be. And then we're going to go ahead and go up. Now, because it also will go ahead and break the leaves, I do like to keep going after 5. Technically, there's only going to be 5 logs, so you could stop here. But I like to go up to 7 because it will break some more leaves. But either way, that will function. So whatever you want to do, totally fine. Now, you're going to go ahead and come on out, over, over, and over. And then this all gets redstone. And that's to fire this piston once it's been pushed out one. And then after that, we're going to be doing that through a series of other redstone bits that are a little bit more complex, but we'll go over it. So basically, slabs work in a very weird way in that they carry redstone even though they're slabs, and it really is a little bit strange, but it works. So this slab is going to end up powering this piston once there's a log here, which there won't be for a bit, but there will be when it needs to get powered. So we'll see that. So what we'll actually see is once we build this tower does not work by itself without the leaf crusher mechanism. The next step is to set up the second retraction, and the reason we want to do this is because it's going to make it so that we don't have the piston in the tree detection area. Otherwise, you could use a single piston, and you wouldn't need to do the double piston if you were going to leave them out here anyway. But to get it out of the tree area so that the trees grow faster, we use a double piston extender, which means we then have to pull this back. We're not going to actually worry about reactivating these guys to pull back the logs that are going to be here to push the trees, but we are going to worry about pulling back these pistons so they get in this position here. So what we need to do is we need to do another little slab ladder going up on this side now, like so. Nope, I knew I messed up. Like so. Alright. Like, that doesn't seem right. That's because it's not. Alright. So this will now power it on the other end of the circuit. So that is that done, except for we need to add some logs. So what we need to do is we need to pick a log that we like to use in the tree farm. It will just detect that it's a log. It doesn't matter what kind. And then just place them along here, except this bottom one actually needs to be a piece of glass. The glass will hurt the spawning a little bit, but it doesn't really matter because if it was a log, it would not function. And that's the more important part. Now, as a note, once we've activated this farm for the first time, these will actually end up 1 block over from where we've placed them, but they can start out here, doesn't matter. but just know that they will actually end up where this dirt block is, not where they are right now. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and start on our tree crusher. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and come on into here. We're going to come out 1 block and then over 2 blocks. Up 1, up another, and then up another. In this direction, again, we do 2 blocks over, up 1, and then up 1. Just like so. Next, what we want to do is we want to come on in here and get a glazed terracotta block. Right here, 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 and here. And then we're going to go ahead and come up 2 blocks and do that same pattern where it's just this little, I don't know, P shape, like that. And then we're going to go ahead and grab a slab block and place it in each of these spots. And then we're going to stick another one of those ladders out this direction like so. Then we need to just repeat that over here. Now we get to our redstone. We're going to go ahead and stick a repeater right here coming out of that block that we have the redstone on there. And then we're going to just cover everything else in redstone up until these 2 blocks right here. So we're going to do that little L shape on each of those and do that. Now, of course, if you're building this in survival, you might want to do this in a slightly different order. Maybe build this layer by layer, putting all the bits and pieces in, but it's a very simple pattern, so you can do that pretty easy. The outer one, the one further from the center, is going to be on 2 ticks, and then the middle one is going to be on 4 ticks. And this is just another version of a double piston extender that we're using on these side ones to fully retract everything. Now what we want to do is we want to come on in here and in line with the terracotta, and then for 5 blocks above that, so a total of 6 stack of sticky pistons right here and right here. So now what we're going to do, and it doesn't matter which order you do this in, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do 5 blocks wide of slime, and then honey, and then slime, and then honey, and then slime, and then honey. And again, if you started with honey, that's fine. You just end on slime instead of honey. And in fact, we'll go ahead and do each side differently, even though they could totally be the same, just to prove that point. Then you're going to want to go ahead and take whatever log you've decided to use, or any combination of logs really. Any of these logs that I'm putting in here could be any kind of pattern, any kind of combination, whatever you want. Just know that they're going to be permanently part of the farm, and make sure, you know, you don't chop them down when you're chopping your trees. And that should actually be the farm done. That should take care of everything. So let's go ahead and give that a test. All right, so that works. So now all you gotta do is you turn on the farm, and then you just right click on your dirt here with sapling, and you can just hold down right click, and all you can, like AFK, you can set that up as a keybind or whatever, and just like make it happen on its own. You don't have to stick around. You can let your tree farm work. However, you may want more than just a long line of trees here, and I totally get that. So what we're going to do is we're now going to go ahead and make a processing area, and there's lots of different methods of how to do that. So we'll go over a couple different things that we can do. Alright, so now to process these trees, it's best to move them into clumps. That's going to be your most efficient way. So what you're going to want to do is figure out how you want to do that. There's lots of different options. What I've chosen over here is actually probably my favorite, but it does make the entrance to the farm a little bit weird. But it gets you the largest amount of wood that you can easily get, while still making it a fairly compact farm considering. But there's lots of different options. Now, if you want to make sure that the farm is completely unbreakable, no matter what you do, unless you like actually break the actual blocks, what you would want to do is go ahead and go to the max piston push limit, and that's where you would want to set up your piston splitter, because the next system is going to require that you actually have a repeater in a place that it would get broken if for whatever reason this piston ever was pushing this too far. So what you're going to actually have is you're going to have a repeater right here, which means you cannot put in a movable block here because you have to have a repeater here. And that, you know, could be not ideal. But what you'll do is you'll go ahead and put a repeater there, and then we will stick a piston, not a sticky piston, facing in this direction like so, and you'll go up 6 high. 6 high? Alright, so earlier I did say that this didn't need to be more than 5 blocks. I did realize that that's because I forgot to add a block, that we just had 6 tall trees. Now, I don't think with all the restrictions you would actually get a giant tree that would mess this up, but I cannot guarantee it. So what I do recommend that you do is actually chop this down to 5 blocks tall, and right over here, place a block right here. And that's going to be at that 7th block above. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on the 8th block we go ahead and place that. Now, to make sure that's not spawnable, I would actually recommend that you go ahead and place a slab there, and that will work fine. And then that'll guarantee that you don't actually have a problem with the big trees spawning. Now, whether or not that actually is a problem, I don't know. You might be able to get away with it, but I don't want to tell you can, not having tested it. Moving along, what we do is we come down to this repeater, we go ahead and stick 2 blocks over, and then we go ahead and do another slab tower. Surprise, surprise. And we just, obviously, as always, redstone all of that up. And that will use that piston to push blocks this way. And then you can actually, I would probably, if you're only going in one direction, I would go the other direction, because I just realized that I had put the lever over there, so that's where our start point is. So I would actually come off in this direction if we're doing this. Because if your entrance is over here and you're only going in one direction, I recommend going on the far side so you leave your entrance open more, which is completely an option. So that'll push your blocks over here. Now, if you've done that, and you could have done that, again, if you wanted to do that and make sure that you're definitely have no chance of breaking this, you could go ahead and do that at piston push limit, and then put in this system over here, and then push them over this way, and it would be all the way over here. But whatever you do, the rest of the system is the same setup. However you do it, it's just a matter of how you do it. So the next step in this particular design, if we were going this route, which I like this route, is coming over here and going to piston push limit again, which in this particular case which starting where we're starting would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks over from this spot. Sorry, 6 blocks over from the back of this piston. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is the 6th block, and I'm going to take that out because we're going to go ahead and put a redstone torch there, and this is going to be a repeater. And so once again, very similar to what we've done before, surprise, surprise, we're going to go ahead and build some pistons and some mechanism here. So what we got to do is we stick our pistons like so. And if you're doing it in this direction, you can do 6 pistons over. Now, if you reversed this whole thing, you could come the other direction, and you could go up to a 7th piston. If you were facing it that way and pushing them that way, it's going to take up more footprint space. And if you had extended this out, you could actually go all the way to right here with this, if this was back this way a couple extra blocks, if you were facing in this direction. So you have a bunch of different options. Again, it is 100% customizable for you, but the direction I like to go is that way. You do 6 over, and it works quite nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to then add a 3rd block here, and then and we can go ahead and add blocks right in here, come up to, add blocks right in here, come up to, add blocks right in here. And on this side, we actually need this to be a full wall of pistons. So there is a lot of pistons in this build. And again, we do another one of these little slab redstone towers. And we just come up like so. Now, if you did go ahead and extend these pistons out a ways, you could actually get to a point where your redstone is not traveling far enough, because this is 1, 2, 3, and then we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if you extended this out a few more, it wouldn't actually reach. So how you would fix that if you decided to go that route is you would just bring your redstone torch tower up a little bit extra. And so that would be your redstone, and then this would be a repeater right here. And then that would definitely go, because you wouldn't have more than 16 pistons, because the push limit isn't even 16. So that would be an option if you did decide you needed that, and then you just need a redstone repeater on any level that didn't reach. But I, to be honest, would just do it on every single level if you were doing that. But again, in this case, because we're doing the 6 wide one, we don't need to do that. So we're going to just go ahead and do that, and we're good. So that is actually that done. And then what I do recommend is adding in the stop, because again, you can break this if you keep pushing these blocks out when this piston can't push them that way. As long as this piston can push them that way, this will never break, because it will always work. However, if these pistons can't push them that way anymore because it's at max push limit, and then this piston can't push it that way anymore because it's at max push limit, then these will keep getting pushed out this way and break this system right here. Now, if that happens, obviously you just break down the logs and then fix this and you're good, but that's a pain. So we don't want to have to do that. So what I would do is I would turn off a shut-off switch. All right, so what you're going to want to do is you want to count out 13 blocks. So we can go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that could all be pushed by the piston. Once there's a block here, it no longer can. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place a block down here. And we're going to go ahead and put a redstone torch on the front of it. So now, once a block gets here, i.e. a log, we can then take a redstone signal off of this, and it will make it no longer work if we then run that redstone signal down into this. So if we just run a redstone line right along here, when there is a full block here, like so, you can see this gets powered and it runs all the way down there and it turns off that torch, which means that even when the tree grows and this piston extends, it won't be able to power this system because that redstone torch that powers it is off. So that is how we are going to go ahead and disable our system when we are done growing trees. So that will take care of that. You will never break your system if that is that way, unless you do something else weird. But otherwise, it should, like, this should be pretty foolproof, because if this is here, that can definitely push at least a little bit of something, because at least it can do this block. So like basically the only way you could break this system now is if you have your tree here and all you do is break that block and then you go back and try to make more trees. That would be a problem. Outside of that, you should be good. So that's that. So that is how that would work. Should be fine. Should keep everything going for you. So that is one version of this. And again, this could be facing the other direction. It could be a little bit wider. It could be further out. You could make sure that this doesn't ever have any chance of breaking, even without the turnoff. If you extend it, whatever. Now let's get into a more complex setup where you go in two separate directions. And again, those two separate directions could then push in either direction. So you could have more logs if you face it the other direction. But what we're going to do now is build that up. So what we're going to do is basically this setup right here is exactly the same, except we move it out and then add an extra set of pistons. So what we'll do is we're actually going to turn it around so that I don't have to take out that set of pistons. But this, we now move the redstone torch out one extra block. We have a redstone repeater right here. We come around just like we did over there. We have our pistons going in this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. And so this is going to push in this row, and that's going to push in that row, and it's going to wait until it has one for each row to push to do it. So then we build our normal tower right here. But then on this side, we're going to need to do a little something different. Now, obviously, you're going to have logs being pushed right through here, so you can't have redstone on this level. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to come over here and then come on down a level. I'm sorry, we need to come out a little bit further, because basically we need to be able to do that same torch tower right here. And then we need this to hook up to this torch tower. Oh, we can actually do that though. We could go right here and still hook up, so that'll be fine. And so yeah, so that is that. We'll add redstone to all of this. And as you can see, that hooks up there and it goes underneath, so we can have a log here and that won't be a problem. And that will do the same thing, and then you would just build this same pusher system on this side too. And again, that pusher system could be facing the other direction and pushing them off that way, or it could be pushing them off that way, or whatever works well for you, you can do. Basically, anytime you want to do anything, you could even just have long lines of logs going all over the place. If you wanted to, just like keep doing these setups and it just keeps pushing it around, and you just have a single row of logs that just is super long, sneaky row of logs. Whatever you want to do, this system will work however you want to set it up, whatever organization you want to do. Now, if you set it up exactly like this, where you do the exact same 6-piston setup as over there, you're going to end up with 2 rows of logs, and they're going to be 1 block off of each other because of the 1 block variance in this setup here. All right, so now if you did want those to end up even, it's going to affect your rates a little bit, but if you want it to end up even, what you could do is instead of building them exactly like this, what you would do is you would go ahead and come off here. So right here will come off a little blaze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But then up, yeah. Yes. So then this is again going to be your torch, and then you get this, like so. You end up with your repeater here, 3 sticks of redstone. All right, but then on this side, instead of building this where we built it so that it's in line, what we're going to do is we're actually going to build it 1 behind, but we're going to make a couple of modifications. So I'm just going to duplicate all of this here. However, we're going to keep this bottom setup exactly where it is. But then we're going to get rid of this section here. And then we're going to use sticky pistons instead of regular pistons to come on in here and replace all of the pistons we had. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab whatever log decision we made earlier and place them in here. And now what this is going to do is it's going to equal the same max push limit as the other side, even though this is forward 1 block from where it actually starts. So then that should end up with the same distance on both sides. And then of course you're going to need to redo your math here for this. And I would put that on both sides. So if you do one of these double-sided ones, I would make sure that you do have a turn-off switch on this side, because you don't want to have one side happen to get more logs because you didn't chop them all down before or whatever, and then have it cause you problems. So that should work right there. And then, of course, just make sure that that is the right distance. Or less. Really, you could stop it back here or wherever, and it would be fine. It's just going to mean you get less logs. So, just make sure it's the max push distance or less, and you will be fine. And again, you could go off in that direction, the same thing. Just you're going to need to wire this back to wherever it is and make sure that the redstone will reach. So if the redstone signal doesn't make it, obviously that's a problem, but you can always use repeaters or whatever to make that happen, and you'll be fine there too. Just make sure that whatever your turn-off system is, it goes to here. However, if you've done max push limit here, it really doesn't matter. If you didn't do max push limit here, you're going to break your system otherwise. But that is indeed that, and this is not built right. You may have caught that already. This was built 1 over from where it needed to be. Don't ask me how I did that and how I didn't catch it till right now, but here we are. Basically, just build it there, because basically these 2 pistons both need to push the logs that are right here, so it would have to be right here. I don't know how I made that mistake, but here we are, and we're not redoing the whole video because that would not be fun right now. But anyway, that is that. I hope that makes enough sense. If you have any questions, do feel free to hit me up and ask those questions. I'm happy to help help anyone figure out how to build this properly. The big thing is when you do this, especially if you do both sides, like right now my entrance to this, if I was in survival, would have to be like kind of like walk over here and then get in here. So I do recommend that somewhere in here you go ahead and you set up, I would do something kind of like this, where I have a chest on either side of this this point here, and then I would go ahead and set up a hopper line headed into this chest for every single block you can in this lower area, and I would extend out as much as a couple pistons length. I would extend out at least one beyond any leaf crusher or anything like that, anywhere you can go. And just make sure that all the hoppers feed back in. Now do know, when the redstone is active, some of these hoppers might get blocked because of the redstone. That's okay-ish. No problem there. But once you've turned off the system, you should then collect up all your saplings. And what this does is it just makes it so that you get your saplings auto-deposited. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. There will be some stuck in some weird places. There's going to be some stuck inside of these mechanisms. There's going to be some stuck behind pistons. It's just kind of a thing that happens, but one of the great things about this particular setup over a lot of the other setups is this is a double piston extender for these leaf crushers, which means there's going to be more leaves to crush. And so because there's more leaves, you're going to get more saplings out of this system than any of the others. So I do like this system because of that. But you're going to want to set up those hopper lines and those chests. Now the other thing you can do, if you want to go ahead and extend your bone meal life here, is instead of doing this redstone line right here, what you can do is you can get rid of that, put any log here. Again, this probably should be whatever log you've decided to use. And then move this redstone line on over here. And then that will allow you to set up a hopper line under here. And you can come on up. Or wherever's convenient for you. I actually am thinking up because I built my last tree farm underground, but you could run this hopper line wherever as long as it's a hopper line, and throw down your chest. Fill that bad boy with bone meal. You're going to have bone meal sending all the way through here, and that's fine. Hoppers don't stick to pistons, so that will operate just fine, and everything should work still. So if we hit that, we can just keep doing this, and our bone meal will keep filling up from our new chest. Alright, so the system turned itself off, which is a good thing. But we just need to make sure that everything did work properly and that we didn't break anything. Oh. I messed up. But it's okay, our safeguard did work. If you do this, this block does need to be glass. That's my bad. Because otherwise it will conduct redstone and power that, and then it will stay extended. So it only actually filled up one side during our test. So if you do the log version of this, you will need to go ahead and make sure that you do put a glass block here. That's my bad. So that was a decent test, but still didn't work out perfectly because of that. But otherwise that would have been fine. Now, of course, I also noticed another mistake when I put in my bone meal a little bit. We put it right in the path of that. Obviously, that would not be an option. So you'd have to go up, or maybe you could go forward through here. Yeah, you could come You could bring this line through here and then have your chest there. That would be an option. But something like that would work. So there's two big mistakes that I just made real quick. But the same basic idea still works. The same build works. I just hadn't fully thought out those two things because I hadn't actually done those in my tests. Now, if I were to go ahead and build this system for myself, I would go ahead and when I'm breaking these logs down, I would never go past this piston. So once I've broken these logs down, that would be what I would leave. Now, obviously, if you're going to switch logs from like oak to birch, you're gonna have quite a few oak logs come out first, and then it'll go to birch. But that's okay, and you know, it's gonna be a little bit safer because if you start breaking down all the logs, you have a chance of hitting some of these redstone components that are gonna be a pain if you break them. But if you want to, you could break down every single log in this system that isn't placed to be a log. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I hope this has been informative, and I hope it's going to help you in your world, whether you build this exact farm or whether it inspires you to build your own. Have a good one, and remember, folks, don't get trapped without me. Bye-bye.